What's up, everybody? It's your girl Anaya here, and we are back with another episode of the Your Wrong Sir podcast. I have an extremely special guest. I'm super excited about this episode because I think this person has an amazing story that needs to be told and most importantly heard. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself, but it's Taylon. So thank you for hopping on the podcast. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you giving me this opportunity to get on. So, like she said, my name is Taylon. Originally from DC. Lived there till I was 5, 6 years old. Moved to Flint, Michigan, and moved down to South Carolina. So I've really been all over. Started my journey in college. Well, I got to backtrack. So I played football my whole life.
Okay.
I got on here because she heard my story being a football player, but started playing football when I was 3 years old. Got to high school, stopped, and was like, everybody tried to chase their hoop dream. So I was like, that was me. I was like, I'm about to be a hooper. Thought I was going to be 6'8". Didn't turn out that way. God stopped me at 6 feet and was like, that's it. So I got into my senior year of high school and was just like, when the opportunity to play college sports, started playing football again. Went to a small NAIA school, 800 people there, and just was like, my situation there was a lot different than your average college student. I was actually working, playing football, and going to school, which was crazy. Lived in the hood. Would go literally like 5, 6 days without any food.
That's
sometimes.
crazy.
And yeah, it was just like, this wasn't the situation I wanted to be in. So really decided, took that leap of faith that summer and was like, I'm gonna transfer here. Wanted to change my major. They didn't have my major. And it was kind of like everything was like red flag, go ahead and transfer.
Yeah.
So, decided to make that decision. And, that's how you kind of heard my story,
Yeah.
So
one thing, like I said, for everybody listening, amazing story. We're gonna get in depth about the journey and what you've been through, and this little special guest we got here on the podcast too. So yeah, but something that I do, like I said, I started the podcast just coming out of something, wanting to network within sports. That's what I want to do. And most importantly, I think visibility is important, right? And so for me, like, listening to podcasts, I don't know if you watch like I Am Athlete or All the Smoke or whatever, like I love them. But a lot of the times we don't see females or women with the podcast. And most importantly, I didn't see anybody my age. And me trying to pave that way into the industry, I think it's important to see people who look just like you, who are doing what you want to do. So with every episode, I'm always highlighting a woman in sports and just really bringing light to that, just to show my audience like, hey, we're more than capable, of being great. So today, really just highlighting women playing volleyball in college, but most importantly ESPN.
Bless you.
So they basically recently decided to showcase the entire NCAA Division I women's volleyball championship for the first time ever in history. And just want to shout them out because I think that's amazing. And there's a difference from inclusion and having a team, but also visibility. Like, it's important for people to see. So definitely want to just bring that to light and highlight that. But we got to get into your story, man. It's so much and it's so in depth. And you just talked about yourself a little bit. And I know we can get a lot of nuggets from the things that you said. But for intro of yourself in a more in-depth way for listeners to understand who you are, could you sum yourself up in 3 values?
3 values. Family, that's number 1, obviously, with my daughter sitting here with me. Unity, because I think it's important to be unified, even just like you talk about sports is for achieving a goal, unity is important.
Yeah, that's a good
family
one.
Unity is important. And the third one would be selflessness, because that's really like something I've always strived to be. And even just why I start opening up by sharing my story, because I used to not talk about like stuff I've went through, just that's the typical Black person, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You look at, that's in our culture, we don't like being open and sharing, but I realized that sometimes sharing your story is what could change somebody else and inspire somebody else to get through their situation. So
I definitely agree. I love those 3. So we got selflessness, unity, and family. And just speaking on all of those things, pulling them together as a person, I've seen you on the football team before and, really didn't know your story in depth. And recently you got some amazing news. And they got your reaction on camera with the team. So your coach is calling y'all down, know what y'all on the team meeting. And basically you were awarded the opportunity to get on scholarship for the football team. So I know that we saw the video, but my listeners may not have saw. So just really describe that moment to me, because I know you didn't know what was happening. He called four of y'all down, and y'all like, what's going on? So just talk to me about, hearing that and really what your reaction was.
Yeah, so it's actually funny. He called all four of us down. We just had a long day of practice. Legs sore, come down,
Yeah.
and he talking about we're gonna go through this tackling drill. I'm like, man, he about to have us tackling in the meeting room. Like we ain't got no pads on. Like we went through a 4-day practice. I'm like, all right, whatever we got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we line up, and then like honestly, all four of us, like we all four as we talked to any of us, we were like, we had no idea that's where it was about to go. We really thought we were gonna go through the drill. So that's just a testament to who he is, to really like surprise us like that. You know what I mean? And just give us that opportunity. So like when he said it, like if y'all see, I was standing there still in shock. Like I didn't realize he really just said like he put us on scholarship, because that was something that I prayed for and been working for 3 years. So like to get that opportunity, it was just amazing. And especially like my brother, I don't know if you know Tony Adams.
Yeah, I do
Like
know Tony. Yeah.
yeah. So me and Tony, we talked about that. Like we really talked about it all the time. Like that's my boy for real. Like that's my brother. But in this January, got into school, realized my school bill. I had a $10,000 school, but I wasn't gonna be able to pay. I was like, if I don't get on scholarship by the end of this semester, I'm gonna have to drop out. Like ain't no way I'm gonna be able to keep doing this.
Wow.
So
And
he
look
was
at
like,
God coming through.
man, and that's what I'm saying. Like he just put people in place, you know what I mean? And he looked at me and was like, bro, like don't even think like that. Like we're gonna get you that scholarship. So I was like, as soon as he said it, he was the first person, ran up, hugged me, and we just, like that was just a special moment for both of us, like
Yeah.
that's what I mean, like family, that's family, you know what I mean? And be able to like share that with him. So
I know, I can only imagine just having those situations where like we're gonna dive into this further, but 3 years of really playing for one thing. And it really just, for me, your story is a testament of trust the process, right? And just to not give up, and just to continue to push through and trust yourself and trust your instinct and trust what you're putting in too. But two, for me, it's also not shocking because you've put the work in. But I think it speaks to the coach's character, because you gotta realize like Lovey was just let go, and for this to be a new coach to come into a new culture, you know what I'm saying? And he just building relationships with y'all. Season hasn't even started. Y'all just had a scrimmage as of yesterday. How does that build your respect for him as an individual? Because you haven't, you didn't bring me on the team when I was a walk on. You
right,
haven't seen me for 3 years and the work I've put in. You've seen me for a couple months, right? And to
right.
see like the work you put in and to really like be a part of that. Talk to me about how it is building that relationship with someone new and just having them reward you and gratify you like that.
Well, definitely appreciate it. Like shout out to Coach B. Like he don't even know how much he really just changed my life, and just put me on that, like gave me confidence in myself, you know what I mean? To really like when you going through something like that for 3 years, and it's like, especially being a walk on, sometimes like sometimes you got people that really talk to you crazy and treat you. Hey,
Yeah, look at her. She's
quiet down.
talking.
Yeah, she wants to share her story too. We gonna get to you in a little bit. But just really just like, it breaks you down mentally sometimes and emotionally, because it's like you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So for him to come in and just be like, be open-minded, really like looking to see who can I reward, and he's also has a walk-on background as well. Come from the University of Iowa. So, it was definitely like super appreciative and dope for him to like be looking to give scholarships to people that earned it. So,
Yeah.
Just really appreciate him for real.
That's amazing. And I just think that's so great too, because you have a lot of people who have the potential to be a part of a D1 team or whatever. And a lot of people just don't give them the opportunity because, hey, we didn't see you recruiting, so you weren't on scholarship here. So I think that's amazing. But let's backtrack, man. It's so much we talking about. And now we're at the end of the tunnel, and we're just at the part where the rewards have come, where you're on scholarship. But you got a long story and a long road of 3 years of everything that really just built up to this point. Talk to me about, you had hoop dreams, first of all. So, I was just reading more up on your story, and you just basically talked about, hey, I want to hoop. I thought this is what I was gonna do. They was trying to convince me to get on the football team. I was like, no. And luckily I just gave it a try for a year or two. and got a scholarship in Missouri Baptist University in St. Louis. So really talk to me about what your experience was there, and like why did you choose to go there for football?
Yeah, so like I said, I didn't play at all in high school. So those are like 3 key years of recruiting, going to camps. Like you miss out on a lot when you don't play your freshman, sophomore, and junior year. So going into my senior year like that, junior spring going into my senior year, that was the first time I stepped on the football field. Like
Wow, that's
since
amazing.
since 8th grade. So yeah, it's crazy. And going there, I actually went there because I was the only school that recruited me for a long time. I didn't. They talked to me in December that year, 2016, and then offered me a scholarship January like 28th. And I didn't hear
Okay.
from any other schools. Like I was sending my tape out, didn't hear from any other schools. Signed my letter. Being young, wanting to rush, like everybody signed their letters. Oh, I want to sign my letter too.
Yeah.
Signed my letter, and then afterwards, that's when a lot of schools start calling because now they're starting to see my tape. They offered out all the scholarships that they wanted, and now they're looking for those pieces that maybe we didn't see them before,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that's how the game worked. So ended up signing my letter extremely early and potentially missed out on opportunities. I really don't view it as I missed out on opportunities because like it worked out for the better. But like had a lot of D2 schools calling, a lot of JUCOs calling. But chose that path just because they were the ones that were rocking with me from the jump. First school to come, first school to put the money on, first school to bring me on a visit. Really, like they seemed like they really believed in me. And the best player at their university is who they brought me there to replace.
Wow.
They kind of were like, this is who we want you to learn from, and as soon as he graduates, you taking his spot. But got there and actually they were like, all right, we're gonna move his position, we're gonna start you. So it was dope, going there. They actually ended up getting benched because they figured out I was planning on possibly transferring. Just because I wasn't happy. Like I said, I was in a situation where I wasn't living on campus. I was living 30 minutes from campus, living in the hood. Was living with 3 other dudes. It was cool, like those were my boys, but just our situation wasn't good, and none of us were happy. We were all like, this ain't where we wanted to be. That's not what we thought college football was going to be, being a college athlete. That's not what we expected, and I was like, I know I didn't come to college to work, play football, and go to school. I came here to play football and go to school,
Yeah.
And it was, I shouldn't be having to work minimum wage and making decisions if I'm gonna put gas in the car to get to class or I'm gonna get food today. That's not,
Wow.
that's not a decision you should be making, especially not 18 years old. And it's like, I realized for me in that moment, I had a decision to make. Was I gonna call home and be like, hey, like, mom, dad, I need help, or like kind of learn from it and figure out how I could get through, And so that's what I did. I figured out what I could do to try to put myself in a better situation, and then finally made a decision. I was like, I got to transfer. I can't do this no more.
Yeah, and what I think what resonates with me so much is a lot of people have misconceptions of how glamorous being a student athlete is, and you can attest to that because you've been at the bottom of the totem pole at a D3 school, and then now you're at a D1 school. So for those who just don't really know the D3 experience, most importantly, talk to me about just what that is, and then comparing that to your expectations. What were the differences?
Yeah, so I actually was NAIA, which is actually below D3.
Okay.
So that experience, you basically like you work in 2 full-time jobs, being a student and being an athlete.
Right.
Like you're always up there for meetings, you're always up there for weights, you're always at practice, something. Like football is like 40 hours a week. Then you get class, which is another like 20 hours because you got to study, go to class, all these different things. And then, like working a part-time job, it was like I really wasn't sleeping. Like,
wow.
So it's crazy, For those people out there that think being an athlete is not a job, I would love for you to go try it. In some capacity, just wake up in the morning 5 a.m. Do something for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and then go spend 2 hours doing what you want to do. And then you gotta come back, go to workouts or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a full-time job. Every day you're gonna be there at least 6-7 hours. So
Yeah, that's
um
that's that's crazy, and I think a lot of people just don't really understand that, who have never been an athlete before too.
mm,
Like, I mean, I can't relate to you because I ain't an athlete in college, but I was in high
yeah.
school. So just knowing what it takes and the
Yeah.
dynamics of teams. You talking, huh?
Yeah, she love talking. It's crazy, but
Oh,
she only 6 months.
that's crazy. She's so cute. But
Thank you.
you decided to transfer. You was like, hey, I'm not gonna call mom and dad. I'm gonna get up out this situation. I'm gonna really figure out
Mm-hmm.
how can I be resourceful for myself, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
really a test of pushing through adversity, in my opinion. Why UIUC? I know we had your major and all of these things, but you could have decided on any other school. Why come from St. Louis to UIUC?
Yeah, so growing up, I was a big Michigan State fan. I always wanted to play in the Big Ten. Um, and when I just looked up the program, so Michigan State was one of the schools I did look at, but the kinesiology program here was still like unmatched. Like
Mm-hmm.
any school in the Big Ten, nobody was even touching it. So I really just prayed about it, and I really felt like God was telling me come here. And I was like, all right, if you're telling me come here, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and take that leap.
Mm-hmm.
Still was like, I'm gonna work to get here, but I'm still gonna put them fillers out to other schools. So I would wake up at 6 a.m. send my tape out to. I had like a list of I want to say it was like at least 60 schools. I just
Mm.
email, like
Top of the
same email
morning,
every
that's gonna
day.
be the top on their inbox.
Yep. As soon as they woke up and clicked the thing, my email was gonna be the first one they saw. So
Yeah.
um that was my 6 a.m. routine every day. I'd take me about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like, even though it's crazy, they weren't answering my calls for real. They answer my calls here sometimes. No email responses. But they accidentally sent me one email and that was to give me the camp dates, and that's all I needed. It was like God was like, "I'm telling you when to go," and so I was like, "All
Wow.
right, you done gave me the information. I'm leaving." So it was like a week before. That happened like a week and a half before. So a week before I left, I told my parents, "Yeah, I'm packing up my stuff. I'm about to leave." So I still had my apartment in St. Louis, and my parents was like, "What you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving and I'm about to go to St. Louis and I'm pack up my apartment and I'm going to Illinois." It was like, "You ain't got nowhere to stay yet." I was like, so I told them, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna just get an Airbnb." So I did book one for the first night, but I knew how much money I had saved up, and I didn't know how long it was gonna be for I was gonna be able to get another place to stay. So
Yeah.
went to St. Louis, stayed there for a couple of days, and then like packed up all my stuff and left. So like when I got here, I literally had everything in my car. Like I had bungee ropes in there trying to keep everything down. So I could still
Yeah.
see out the back window. I had a 2005 Jaguar X-Type, so it was kind of a small car. I packed everything. I condensed, took literally before I left, took a bunch of stuff to Goodwill in St. Louis and was like, all right, this is what I need. And I don't need nothing else. And just left. And I was like,
Wow.
my old roommate, I was like, anything in there that you want, you can have.
Mm-hmm.
And so had
And
everything in the car.
and for
It
me,
just
the
came up.
lesson in that too is really just having faith, right? You just
Mm-hmm.
got it. I'm giving up my apartment. I'm giving up school. I'm giving up everything to be in a car. And I really don't know what's going to come from this and what the possibility will come from this. Like, what it will be. For
Mm-hmm.
those people right now who I would say are fearful of making the decision that they know they should make. You know how you should do something, but you're scared
Mm-hmm.
because you just scared of change and scared of what it will be. What would your advice be to those individuals?
I say the biggest thing. A lot of people they tell you be fearless, and I think that's stupid because honestly, you're gonna have fear. You're human. That's something that's not gonna go away. But like the true testament of like being courageous and having faith is understanding that yeah, things might not go exactly how planned, but if this is something that is meant to be, that it's going to happen how it's supposed to. As long as I have the faith and I put the work in, you know what I mean? And that's the two things. Like you can't just have the faith. You have to also put the work in. Like even the Bible says that faith without works is dead. So you can't have one without the other. You can't have the work and not the faith, and the faith without the work. You got to have both. So I would think that would be my biggest thing. But take the step. Like don't hesitate. Do not hesitate, because if you hesitate, then it's going to be given to somebody else.
That's amazing. That's some great advice. And you got here and you were fearful a little bit, but you walked by faith, right? And you took the step.
Mm-hmm.
You got here. I'm reading on your story, and man, you were sleeping in your car. Your family didn't know. Um, and just talk about these sacrifices you had to make, because how soon did you get here before the camp started?
I want to say I got here. It was like 2 or 3 weeks before. I can't remember the exact date. I
Mm.
want to say it was like 2 or 3 weeks before though,
With
or like
nowhere
two
to
and a half
stay.
weeks. Nowhere to stay. I had an Airbnb the first night. Left the Airbnb, stayed in my car some nights, and then booked the Airbnb. And like the last couple days, I booked it. I actually met the owner at the Airbnb. It was at one of the frat houses here. He
Okay.
was he was the frat owner. His like chapter he kept closed them down, and he was like renovating it because he was gonna rent it out to a new frat. And I actually was in there, like I met him, was just talking about trying for the football team. He was a photographer at the university. Like he learned a lot about him. His name was Brad, great dude. And he was like, if you're willing to help me clean up and do some things around here, you can get a couple extra nights for free. So I was like, all right, I'm cool with
Wow.
that. So I was helping him hang the hinges on doors. Like I did some stuff I ain't ever did. We was hanging the
Yeah.
doors, sawing the doors, mopping
Handyman.
yeah, literally. So, it was cool. It was cool though.
Yeah.
And then got my friend Deontay Cox his number and just called him, and he was like, yeah, bro, you can come stay with me. Like it ain't a problem. So I was able to stay with him the remaining month from basically it was like the beginning of August, like I want to say August 3rd until August 23rd when I was
Mhm.
able to move into the dorms. So
Wow. And so for me too, I know that like you've been through a lot, right? And just not knowing where to sleep, etc. And something that was just so amazing that stood out to me was the fact that you used to sleep in a parking lot with your car across from like Grange Grove or where they would train at. And at 6 o'clock, you be there warming up before the team got there for,
mhm.
their workouts. Talk to me about how did you like, because I know there are a lot of people who wonder, okay, what is it like being a walk on? What do I have to do? Like, how do I even get in touch with these coaches? You got the accidental email. You went out there before them at 6 a.m. and you're working out, and you got the team coming up. You don't even know these guys. You got coaches, and they probably like, who is this on the field? How do you introduce yourself? Like, did they notice you? Did they pay attention to you? Like, how does that go?
So I actually went up in the office before any of this. Like my first day on campus, I just walked up in the office. Um,
You was
Literally, I was
bold, man.
driving
You said, "Hey,
around.
y'all gonna see me."
Hey, look, I wanted an opportunity. Like when you looking for an opportunity, you'll do whatever it takes, especially
Hmm.
when you feel like this is where you're supposed to be. And went in the office. Actually, a janitor let me in the building. One of
Wow.
the janitors just, I was walking up. I said, "Do you know where the football office is?" He's like, "Yeah, the door is locked." And he was like, "You a player?" I was like, "No, sir." I was like, "I'm trying to get information to try out for the team." He said, "Oh, yeah, follow me." So he went, unlocked the door for me and let me in the
Wow.
building. So I walked up there. And at first they all was looking at me like, "Who is this dude in the office?" I went, and there was a cornerback coach here at the time. Talked to him, and I could kind of tell he was like, "Yeah, get out the office." Like he just was giving me that vibe, like he really didn't want to talk. Was being real short. He was kind of. I was like, "When's practice supposed to be? When I tryouts?" He was like, "Yeah, you got to wait till this guy gets here." And I was like, "Well, when's he gonna be here?" He was like, "Oh, well, I'll text him." And texting him, I was there for like 30 minutes, and then guy comes and he was like, "Yeah, you can't do anything until the 27th." And I was like, "I can't come to practice or anything." He's like, "Nah, you can't come to August 27th." And I was like, "Yo, like I ain't got nowhere to stay." He was like, "I'm sorry, like you can't come to the 27th." So I was like, "Man," so I walked downstairs and I was actually about to leave.
Mm.
And then I was just thinking about like all that work I went through that summer, everything I sacrificed that summer, and working those two jobs, getting up for it at 6 a.m. every day and only sleeping 2 hours, just like all the work I put in. And I just called my trainer and that I was working out with, and I was like, "Look, so this was going on." And everything I was thinking already, he started literally saying, he was like, "Yo, you work too hard. Like, go back up there." He's like, you told me that this is what you wanted, and you worked too hard for this. You prayed for this. Like, nah, bro, go back up there. So I was like, all right, yeah, you right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you right. Let me go back up there. So I went up there. I was like, "Look, yo, like, I ain't got nowhere to go. I'm not leaving. Like, all I'm asking for is an opportunity." And so now the whole coaching staff and like GAs, all the coaches standing out there. And I'm like, I done drove 16 and a half hours to get here. I was like, I'm not going nowhere. Like, I just want to know when I can try out. That's all I care about. Like, can I come to practice? You know, like, I'm not asking for a scholarship, nothing. I just want an opportunity. And literally, like, I'm sitting there, all these people looking at me, and I'm starting to doubt myself now. I'm like, God, like, did you really tell me to come here, or did I want to come here? You know what I mean? And right at that moment, two things happen. This man walks in the room. At the same time he walks in the room, the verse pops up on my phone, Mark 11:24. Therefore, I tell you, whatever, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. As soon as that pops up, I read that. He walks in, he's like, what's going on? And so there was like, yeah, go talk to him. So I go talk to him. And this man is like, he's like, let me see your tape. Show him my tape. He's like, all right, you can play. He's like, how tall are you? I told him. How fast are you? I told him. He was like, we ain't got no walk-ons that look like you. So he was like, all I'm gonna say is, you know, like, come to practice every day. If they tell you to leave, tell them I told you to be there. And he was like, these are the times the practice is. And then he was like, where'd you come from? I told him what school. And that's why I actually got my boy's number. He was like, here's Deontay's number. Call him, see if you can stay with him. And it was just like, you know, like right at that moment, just keeping that faith, you know what I mean? Like, even though I had that small doubt, still, like, it was like God just reminded me, like, I got you. And then sent him in there. And then, you know, that man, like, told me the practice schedule and everything. So I showed up every day.
That's amazing, bro. That's amazing. And to come out there and just to learn, like, how to trust yourself. And so what people don't understand is you went through all of this just to get into practice, bro. Just to get into practice. You get into practices, you finally become a walk-on. 2018, 2019, you ain't getting a lot of time. You're still not on scholarship. You still got to pay for school. How do you remain persistent even when you going through seasons where, I mean, honestly, if we being real, football team wasn't doing well, and you probably was in your mind like, man, I could be out there contributing, or I could be out there helping. How do you just be like, hey, be humble, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm just continue to just stay here even if I'm not getting time, and I just know it's gonna work out?
I honestly, there's so many days it was hard. Like, there's so many days I was like, man, bump this. Like, I'm tired. I want to quit.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know. It was just, I always had that reminder, like, God told me this. Like, he told me this. Like, I prayed for three things. You know what I mean? I prayed to get me in school, get me on the team, and for a scholarship. And he told me he was going to give me all three. And I got two of them. Like, it's going to come. I just had that faith. I was like, it's going to come. And, you know, I didn't know when. And I really, like, going into this spring, I was like, you know, I can't really, girl, calm down. Going into this spring, I really was just kind of like, you know, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going
to. It's her time to shine.
Man, she want to tell her story so bad. Going into this spring, I really wasn't. I really wasn't thinking about, like, trying to earn a scholarship. I was like, my mindset was more like, man, this might be my last time, you know? So I was really just focused on just giving everything I had every day, you know? And I think that was the biggest thing for me, the biggest difference. Before, I was so focused on trying to get it instead of just focusing on, like, thank you, God, for this opportunity. Like, this is something that can be taken away from me at any moment, you know?
Yeah.
And when I shifted my focus from, like, God, I know you got it under control. Let me just play football and have fun and be thankful for this opportunity every day. That's when, like, that it was given, you know, like, it was finally, like, and I think that was what I was missing the last couple of years. And I think it possibly, you know, I don't know, maybe that was a lesson that was God was trying to teach me in the process, you know. And it was like, I trusted him, but did I trust him all the way? And it was like, I feel like I didn't, because I was still every day waking up like, man, I got to get this scholarship, you know, instead of just, man, have fun and play football. Like, he told you he got you. Trust him. You know what I mean? And that was the part where, like I say, like, you got faith and you got work, but they got to go together. And I think I got in a point at times where I was more focused on work, and I stopped having faith sometimes. Like, I thought I had it in control, and it's not in my control, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the key thing that I've really just gathered from what you said in that statement was always keep your why close. Always keep your reasoning for why you came close, because you're going to face a lot of trials and tribulations, but always remember, why did I come here? And that's going to always keep you centered and balanced, to stay where you were intended to be. I think that's amazing. And something that I just admire about your story, because this is amazing. But on top of that, you're more than an athlete. And I think a lot of the times there's a stereotype and there's some truth and there's some false in this, but that athletes, don't know how to be anything more than athletes, or a lot of students come to universities to hoop, play basketball, gymnastics, whatever, play volleyball, and they're so focused on the sports that they ain't worried about getting a degree, or they're not even worried about actually, really having a major that's focused in on something that they want to do. A lot of athletes don't know what they want to do. And
Mm-hmm.
you talked about one of your biggest reasons coming here. You didn't mention anything about football. What you told me was kinesiology. And so, how did I want to talk about the start of where that was instilled within you, where education was just extremely important, for you, and just building upon that. How do you balance all of that and make sure that school is still number one too?
So I'm gonna be upfront because there's gonna be people that listen to this podcast. My mom, she might hear this. She gonna be
Yeah.
like, he lying if I'm just like I love school. So first day of kindergarten, I actually came home, told my parents I hate school. And
No,
to
not
this day,
kindergarten.
first day of kindergarten, and to this day, I promise you that statement still holds true. But what I realized is if I want to get further in life, that this is something that is necessary. Right. And it's like me personally, like I don't plan on working for anybody past. Like when I maybe an internship or playing football. Like other than that, I want to be self-employed. I want to work for myself and do things for myself. And I've always had that mindset of like being self-driven and wanting to be able to support myself and take care of my family on my own, not relying on somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
But understanding that like even to get in certain arenas, even with me being, I could be an entrepreneur, but just to get into some arenas, like you need a college degree. You know what I mean? Like you
Definitely. I
need to
get
have at
you.
least the bachelor's, like just to get into some doors, like just that simple degree, that piece of paper. Like I got
It
my
gives
degree.
you it gives you so much credibility and validation for people in their
Right.
eyes.
Right. And it's like for me, that degree I got literally have it. It is in like a box. It ain't
Yeah.
hanging up nowhere. Like to me, it holds no value, but somebody to them it does. And that's why I was like, I gotta keep pushing through. I gotta finish. And it was like, it's something that I started. So I was like, I gotta see it through. And so now like I'm trying to get into the master's program for finance. And
Okay.
because I want to financially educate people. And that's something that you don't need a degree for. You can literally go get your license for, and you know what I mean? I could become a financial advisor if I wanted to just by going to get a license. But I realized just having that master's in finance behind it, like master's in finance and also having the licensing, people are just going to look at it different,
Yeah.
So
And
I
speaking
think
of
it's
finance,
important just to do that as well.
speaking of finance though too, like building upon you, like I said, more than an athlete, literally the epitome of that. Got your degree. Also, you talked about self-employment and being an owner, and you talked about finance. Outside of being the owner of Rise, which is your, own clothing line, Rise in Silence every day, which I think the motto is amazing. You also are the co-owner of Learning Curve LLC. And just viewing the Instagram and viewing the content you all put out is really just about financial literacy, making sure that you're putting that across. What's the NFTS? What is a stock? What's a bond? What's this? What's that? How did that come about for you, and why are you so passionate about financial literacy?
Yeah, so it actually came about like kind of looking back at my story. So I grew up in a two-parent household, but still, even coming out of high school, like me and my parents, when I got a credit card a year and a half ago, I was like, yeah, I need to open up a credit account. We had a whole debate about it. And I had zero knowledge about credit because they didn't teach me. I
Wow.
knew zero knowledge about taxes because they didn't really teach us that stuff. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
looking at like minority communities, that's just something that you're not really taught. And I went and sought the knowledge out for myself and went and tried to experience it. And, like I was in a situation, like I said, my freshman year where I had a job, but because I was making minimum wage, I had to make a decision, gas or food. And there's a lot of people on a day-to-day basis that are in the situation that I'm in now where they have children and they have to make those decisions, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be that way. That like some of them don't make enough money to support their families and themselves, but some of them do, you know, they do
Mm-hmm.
have make the money, but they don't have the knowledge to take that and turn it into more. And so they become reliant on their job to take care of their family, you know, and it's like, if my mom's sick, they can't even take off work to go take care of their mom because their job won't let them.
Right.
And my goal is really to first show people that I can do it, and then
Mm-hmm.
go teach them how to do it as well, to make your money work for you and not rely on somebody else to take care of your family, where you can do it yourself, where you don't have to go to somebody and be like, hey, can I take off work? Like you can go into your job with the confidence that I do not need this job. Like, you know, some people say that, but like you really do need it.
Need it.
Don't lie to
Yeah.
yourself. You know what I mean? They be like, I don't need this job, but if you quit right now, how you gonna pay your car note? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But really going in and like, I don't need this job. I'm just using this job to like fund my other things. That's literally what this is. This is like a fundraiser essentially. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that should be people's like mindset when they're going into work. Like I don't need this. And then when you're more comfortable with that, you'll go do things that you actually love. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's like the one thing you can't ever get back is time. And that's my biggest thing. Like having a daughter, like I want to be able to spend time with her, you know, and
Yes.
other people want that same thing, but they don't know how. How do you do that? You have to be smart with your finances, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's where the idea this really came from, and just wanting to be able to help change people's situation financially. Like I'm doing it with myself and want to help other people do the same.
I think that's amazing because I will say, like, even before coming to school, like, my mom is into banking. So, mortgages and all of those things, I just hear in a casual conversation. But if she didn't work in
Mm-hmm.
that, do I think I would have heard these conversations? No, because all of the things that I know, I've never learned outside of her, right? We didn't learn it from school. It's not in our communities. Like, they're trying to
Right.
strip our communities of these resources and to learn. And so, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so important, too, because now I'm realizing, like, generational wealth. And a lot of the times, what we don't understand is like, we look at all of these people we idolize, like Bron or Diddy or whoever in the black community, and Kevin Hart, whatever. One thing that I heard and somebody said was the goal is not to just have a store, it's to build a mall.
Mm-hmm.
So really just having like chains of different things or different avenues, you know, who owns them all? We don't know who owns North Riverside in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago or wherever, but we do know that whoever owns it is making money and they're not even doing anything, you know?
Right.
And so that's definitely the goal and the key. And I commend you, first of all, for taking that initiative and just wanting to educate those in your community, people who look like you. That's amazing. And also, last thing, honor of Rise. Like I said, for the listeners, rise in silence every day. That right there says a lot itself. But tell me where you came up with that from, and really, what does this clothing line mean to you?
Yeah. So that literally the clothing line is my story. Um, like from the T, like all the way down to when it was started. It was actually started at the same time I when I came home from school that year, and I was like, I'm going to transfer. That is when I started the clothing brand. That was like
Okay.
the name, like Rise, had been like in my mind. I literally wrote it down in a notebook back in like 2014, like sophomore in high
Wow.
school. Didn't act on it at all. Didn't do nothing with it. I was like, all right, you know, that's cool phrase. I ain't doing it. It don't really mean much to me at the time. But then like going to that school and experience what I experienced when I came home, I was like, I want to change my life. And so first thing I did, went, got my hair locked, and then was like started a clothing brand the next day. And so
Wow.
it was like that's how it really just came from that. It was like I knew like I was gonna act on my faith, and I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I told my parents because they needed to know. But other than that, like I wasn't going around like, hey, I'm about to go do this. I was like, nah, like, I have a goal and I'm gonna go to achieve it. And whether you with me or not, like you're gonna see it when I get there, you know,
Mm.
versus me like telling everybody, hey, I'm about to go do this. And now you have all this pressure and all these eyes on you, like just acting, move in silence, you know?
I love that. Rise and silence every day. I love that. I think that is amazing. I'll definitely tag it and put the bio in the link. So everybody, if you're listening, you can definitely check it out. Learn about financial literacy with Learning Curve, and most importantly, go hit up Rise and go get your clothing. That's amazing. And I just want to close it out too. Today we're speaking is April 20th. Yesterday you all had your first spring scrimmage. New coaching staff, huge adjustment for all players, and huge year for you. What should we be looking for from you? What should we be looking for from this new DB that's on scholarship? And what should we be looking for from our team?
Um, well, I'm not gonna speak too much on it, but
Okay.
definitely tune in this season, and you'll see for yourselves.
I like that. Let the work speak for itself. I love that.
Definitely.
But I appreciate you for coming on so much. This is an amazing story, and definitely wanted to just use this on my podcast for people who are in a position or who did go to NAIA school and just really want some motivation. I think your story is amazing, and I appreciate you. So we out.